I'm Josie, or Josephine. I studied physics with nanoscience here at Nottingham University. I graduated in 2020, right in the middle of lockdown, which was not the most fun. But I now work for Experian on the graduate software engineering degree course, which means that I have 2 years of rotating around different environments in the business, and I get to code in all the different areas there. So at the moment I'm working on the website, so we're coding what everyone sees when you enter the website. I could work on the mobile app or all the different ones. And I didn't think physics would help me get to that stage, because there's not much computing in physics when you think about it, but there really is when you go back, and the analytical skills and the different data that you look at, that's what they're really looking for. They want STEM students to be able to go there, and they just want the ability to learn, and physics students have the ability to learn, and that's what people are looking for.
Did you have any more or less shaped up idea where you want to be when you started applying for jobs?
I thought that I would go into lab work or doing experiments. I thought that that was the only place I could go. I didn't realize how much there was out there. I thought it was just physics, you have to go into a science, like a proper science job, but there is so much else out there. I just didn't realize, and as soon as I expanded my search to look at all the other areas, that's when I found software engineering and all the other things that you can actually do.
Can you maybe give us some examples of the roles that you also considered when applying?
When I was first applying, there was a lot of lab technicians, was like the main one I started with. But then that spread out to just being a lot of analytics work, so data analysts and different jobs like that. And eventually it led to just being software engineers. When I found that I could apply for them, I thought it sounded quite interesting, and you've got such a huge range of companies when you start looking into that, where when you narrow it down to just lab-based jobs, there's not much out there, so it's really difficult to find a job in that area.
Can you perhaps share with us some frustrations of the job search hunting process? How many of your applications got rejected? How many times you had to reconsider your strategy? What did you do to actually change your strategy?
Well, I got rejected from about 60 jobs. Quite a few of them were during lockdown. It was the case of they reply with, "Oh, sorry, we aren't hiring anymore, but we forgot to take it down off the website." But a lot of rejections, the most frustrating thing is just not hearing back. You apply to a job and then you wait weeks and you don't hear anything, and you don't know if they're still looking or if you've been rejected. The jobs that don't reply, that is frustrating. And then when you do get replies, it's like one sentence emails that tell you that you've not got it. It can be really disheartening. But it was the main change I made was not letting that get to me, and just seeing it as every single time I didn't get the job was practice for that one job that I did eventually get.
Great.
And changing your mindset is the main thing you can do, because a lot of the time it is just one person has one thing that's slightly different to you, and that's what they're looking for, but you're qualified in the exact same way, and you just can't predict it until you're in that situation. So it's just changing the mindset is the main thing. The main advice would just be, don't get too disheartened by it.
If you think about your colleagues on the graduate scheme as well, what do you think makes you stand out as a physics student, and what other disciplines are then represented in your team?
We have a lot of computer science students. The majority of the team when I joined was computer science, but they say that they like the physicists and the STEM students because of obviously the analysis. You can look at problems and find new ways around them, but more than anything, it's the fact that how willing you are to learn. Physics is a difficult degree compared to a lot of other ones, and being able to see that and see that you got through that degree and you're willing to change up a bit, they know that you're going to be one of the people that wants to learn and wants to improve, and that's really what they're looking for, that willingness and that excitement to learn new things, which you get from studying physics, and knowing that you're going to approach a problem in a completely different way to the people that did computer science or any of them sort of backgrounds.
That's great. So if you can highlight just a few core skills that your physics degree equipped you with, what would those be?
I'd say definitely analysis is a big one. Being able to look at something and analyse it before just jumping into it, that's something that seems to have a big impact. Problem solving is definitely up there. Being able to look at you get problems thrown at you all the time in physics, and you always look at them and you think they're kind of similar to the last one, but the range of problems that you get given in physics and that just sets you up for any problem that's thrown at you. You will have had some experience figuring out how to go through that problem. And like perseverance as well with physics. There's a lot of times when you're going through like coursework and things like that, and you're just like, you're not getting it, and eventually you get it, and that feeling of knowing that you eventually get it, like it sets you up to be able to persevere in anything else that you need to.
Yeah, that's great. These are the qualities, the professional, personal qualities that any academic subject builds in you. But physics is a fundamental subject, in a way, right? And it's a fundamental natural science, so it gives you the breadth and the depth. About the problem solving, can you give us a small example from whatever you did recently that specifically illustrates problem solving? What it is that makes up problem solving?
I know recently at work we had an issue where something just wasn't quite working right, and some of the senior devs had been looking at it for almost a year, and nothing was working. Like it didn't quite fit when they were looking at it in terms of like the code side of it. And then I looked at it, and due to, I can't remember what, it must have been like a third year problem that we'd done in physics that was just, it was more of a mechanics-based problem. And looking at that, and then the maths side of knowing the physics and going into that problem with a completely different mindset to them, I just made a suggestion that I thought was obvious and people would have thought of. And it turned out that had never been taught to anyone outside of physics, because it was like mechanics. It was something completely different that you never thought would come up in like a day-to-day activity. And then it just showed up, and they managed to fix the code between them after that and figure out what the actual issue was. And that just came from like one probable coursework question that like came up many years ago.
That sounds great. Well, thank you very much, Josie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks. Pleasure.